Hey everyone, Seafood Jeffrey John Cox here. So you know, in the WT families, to earn the title of Sifu, you have to produce a first technician, which means you have to produce a black belt that everyone else approves of, and then they say, wow, you really are a teacher who can produce the black belt. We call it a technician. And then a Sifu has to be one level above that, which makes a Sifu a second level technician in the WT families, just so you know. And then just want to show you, friends at home, this is my sign that I put on the Kung Fu cardio cart during COVID because I'm the Iron Dog, the Iron Mastiff, right? Mastiff stands for MASTIFF, Martial Arts System Trainer, Individual Fitness Focus. That's who the Iron Mastiff is. And so there's your fitness word, Kung Fu Fitness, patreon.com, Leung Ting style. Yeah. So I've been doing this since 2020 is when I started the Kung Fu Fitness. But I am a Sifu as well. Just want to throw that up there. Next up, I mention once in a while my experience with the closest you can get to a Shaolin monk, which was Professor Ting Chu, who came in 1998 to San Francisco on the world tour with Dr. Leung Ting, who was my grandmaster at the time. And so we had this guy come. This is a photo enlargement from Leung Ting's Wing Tsun Kun book, if you might recognize it. So he came. He still looked exactly like that in 98. And he taught us about Chi Gung. And he did a whole thing with like what we would call Tai Chi. You know, like he did this whole thing. Thank you, Professor. And I got a second picture over here. So we'll zoom in on this. Here he is. And my Sifu is very happy holding his shoulders, and my former Grandmaster Leung Ting's there. I took this photo myself, and then he lifted Professor Ting Chu up with a big hug, and we all got to see that he had some socks he just got at Disneyland. Ask me in the comments. Thank you. So I say he was a Daoist Immortalist from WuDan Mountain. I don't know if those are the exact words. They were in Chinese. But I was there, and it was amazing. I'll tell you a couple more parts of that event. He said, Americans only want the sexual Qigong. And so he said he knew that was really the question we all wanted answered. And then he proceeded to teach us about the heart meridian. And we do Wing Chun like this as part of the health component in the first form. And he showed us how in a health set you might do one side off to the side to pump the heart meridian. And there's also some vascular reasons connected to the heart physically. And then you do it on the other side. And I don't know if I got my stances right. I'm just modeling it. I'm not demoing it perfectly. So he talked about it like that. And he did a demo with me where he had me feel his old 86-year-old finger. And then he compressed his circulatory system and all of his ligaments. Whack! And it just got as hard as metal. It was like a piece of rebar. Relaxed rebar. Relaxed rebar. He just went bonk, bonk. And he smiled. And then he stuck it under my jugular. I felt it. I have to simulate it. He went way up in here. And it was up to his knuckle, and I could feel it farther than I'm going to do to my... And everyone in the audience, all my friends and fellow Wing Chunners went, whoa. And I was like, yikes, they were over this way. And then he did it into my Tandian diaphragm. When you inhale, exhale, that thing that goes in and out. Again, I looked down. He was knuckle deep, that rebar finger, and he pulled it out. He's like a little giggling Yoda guy. It was really fun. So that changed my impression of a soft Tai Chi with these two fingers, because he could just go at any moment, and it was like a piece of metal hitting you. Next up, he said, the more you know, the harder it will be to actually do it. He said, you are it. You are in your own way. The body's going to do the best it can do, and you are the only one getting in its way. So that's for everything in your life. But for our martial arts, he approved of the Leung Ting Sunim Tao sets with the inner rotation at the start, and specifically this set, right? This is the set and these parts at the start of it. And you've seen the Chinese doing these exercises. My opinion, I don't think it's the 8 brocade Qigong. There's some overlap, but I think that's a different thing. I think this is some kind of standing meditation. Sifu Sergio, yeah, Sergio has those videos with his 1800s engine. I think he goes into like a Daoist single form on a Daoist mountain. You see that video? Check it out. So I think it's more in that line, and I don't think that's the 8 silk brocades. Put it in the comments. I like those details. But Professor Ting Chu said, if you start trying to move energy around in your own body with your mind, who are you to do that? Did you invent this world? Let it be. Think about being energy or empty or something, but don't think about like moving it around. All right, next up, funny story. A guy asked, he's a Russian guy, I think. He asked about like a Qigong for sex that he got out of this book. And he'd done all these exercises, and he had tears in his eyes. He said his parts don't work anymore. And then Professor Ting Chu was speaking Mandarin, and he would look at Leung Ting, and Leung Ting would Cantonese Mandarin it, and his lips would move, and then he would get it into English, and he'd tell us. And then he said, go back to the book. And what? And then he said, well, he says you have to go to the teacher. Whoever taught you the sexual Qigong is going to have to fix what's wrong with your parts. And then he's like, but I got it from a book. And he's like, so go back to the book. And then, so the guy, Professor Ting Chu's like, I got nothing for you, man. So that was a great admonishment hidden in the riddle of that whole event. The more you know, the less you probably doing it right. And that particular guy had gotten in his own way. I don't know what he did to his biology with his parlor tricks, as we say. So anyway, that was Ting Chu, and he had some other stuff I'll put in other videos. But I mentioned him the other day. Why do I say WuDan Mountain? He said, this was 1998, he said that they filmed the parts of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon at the end. Spoiler, you had enough time to pause it, where she jumps off the bridge and flies away. That place is where he was taken when he was 6. And he was 76. Did I say 80 earlier? He was 76, I think, when I met him. So for 70 years, from when he was 6 until I met him in 98, 70 years, he lived on that mountain. And that's this mountain that the emperors all tried to fix up the Buddhist temple to win favor. And I call it WuDan Mountain. So we all know the kind of thing I'm talking about in America. If you have the exact name of the mountain, put it in the comments with a GPS point. Thank you. So he lived there, and he joked that there's all that stuff, and there's a cave, and then there's like apartments and dormitories that are really nice. Like they do. If you want to sleep in the cave for a year, you can, but there's an apartment there too. All right, enough on that. Center line that is the middle of everything.
If I left, then it made no sense. And you tell your friends and they hold your hands. Baby, never mind, 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 never mind. But if I left, then it made no sense. And you tell your friends and they hold your hands. Baby, never mind, never mind, never mind, never mind, never mind, never mind.